I am begging you to learn the bare minimum history surrounding the Holocaust, surrounding concentration camps, surrounding Auschwitz, because if you read this headline and you don't immediately quake in your boots out of fear for what is going to befall your neighbors, your loved ones, your family, your friends, your coworkers, then you do not know the first thing about politics or history. Trump directing Guantanamo Bay, be prepared to host up to 30,000 migrants. Yes, this is an open and shut case of Trump demanding the creation of a concentration camp. Using that term concentration camp is the moderate term to use right now because, of course, this is a concentration camp, right? The more useful and likely accurate term is torture camp. That's, of course, what Guantanamo Bay has historically been. So, like I said, you should be quaking in your boots. I was when I heard this. President Donald Trump on Wednesday signed a memorandum directing the federal government to prepare the U.S. naval base at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, to house tens of thousands of migrants. The memorandum calls for the Defense and Homeland Security Departments to provide additional detention space at Guantanamo for high-priority criminal aliens unlawfully present in the United States. Most people don't even know about it. We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people. I, for some reason, sincerely doubt we have 30,000 beds just lying there collecting dust in Guantanamo. But what do I know? I'm not a war criminal. Trump's remarks came just before he signed the Laken Riley Act, the first major legislative win of his second term. Legislative win. Great framing, CNN. Great framing, CNN, which requires the detention of undocumented migrants charged with certain crimes. Congress passed it earlier this month with Democratic support. Today's signings bring us one step closer to eradicating. Know your history. Know your history. Know what that word implies. The scourge. Know what that word implies. Of migrant crime in our communities once and for all. Trump's top immigration advisors later told CNN that management of a Guantanamo Bay detention facility for migrants would be overseen by ICE. As we've covered before, ICE, the organization whose crimes against humans, whose crimes against humanity are well documented, though not documented enough, because they are, of course, a strong enemy to journalism and the press, who have a history of detainees under their care dying or going on to report sexual assault, misconduct, a whole host of other things, physical abuse, psychological abuse, sexual abuse. Going to be overseeing a concentration camp at Guantanamo Bay, which is, of course, an offshore base not located within the United States of America, that is specifically offshore so that it is, at least according to current legal doctrine, not under the purview of American law and American lawful requirements for due process. We're just going to expand upon existing migrant centers, Border Czar Tom Homan said, adding the facility would be overseen by our migrant center run out of Miami. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said the base could be reserved to detain what she described as the worst of the worst. But a U.S. official told CNN that the facilities at Guantanamo Bay are far from prepared to house up to 30,000 migrants. There's no way there's 30,000 beds anymore, the U.S. official said, adding that the capacity existed in the 90s, but no longer. And in order to care for that number of people, the official said the U.S. would have to bring a lot of military staff. The Cuban government criticized Trump's plans to house tens of thousands of migrants. In an act of brutality, the new U.S. government announces the imprisonment at the Guantanamo naval base located in illegally occupied territory, Cuba, of thousands of migrants that it forcibly expels and will place them next to the well-known prisons of torture and illegal detention, Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel wrote on X.
To instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. Most people don't even know about it. We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo. to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people.
I have barely just started making YouTube content, okay? And I already have 2 videos about how they are, of course, not just targeting the worst of the worst with their anti-immigrant campaign. They are, of course, going after those who have been convicted of petty crime, those who are being charged with crime, as the Lake and Riley Act allows for them to do. You know, they can detain people who are charged with shoplifting and right? Of course, they're coming across anyone and everyone who matches the physical description of your typical run-of-the-mill legal immigrant. You know, a brown dude, a brown Hispanic dude with a mustache named Fernando, whatever, right? I don't know. They're going after everyone like that, okay? American citizens are being caught up in the agenda as well, okay? This has always been the case. It's not just the worst of the worst. There's probably not 30,000 illegal immigrants who actually belong to a gang and are have committed terrible murders and crimes that are, beyond the pale evil in the United States of America. That's a ridiculously high number, okay? Even if they did, there are legal processes that exist for them to go through upon being caught and detained and charged. There's a process. We call it due process. But Trump is promising instead to ship them off to a torture facility, to create a concentration camp outside of American borders, by the way. Hey, you want to know, where a significant portion of Nazi Germany's concentration camps were? Not in Germany. They were in Poland. When you tactically export your war crimes, it's easier to hide them. We, of course, did not learn the extent to Nazi Germany's ethnic cleansing genocidal campaign until after they had lost the war, because they did a good job trying to hide their despicable acts. Why are we creating this concentration camp, this enormous concentration camp outside of American borders? So that it's harder for American cameras to get in there and document what's happening. And of course, so it allows them to skirt various legal precedents, such as, due process. And I'm going to be 100% honest, okay? I get a lot of crap for being a bit of a pessimist when it comes to politics, for, predicting the worst outcome is going to happen and yada yada, right? I didn't see this coming this fast. Of course, they've been promising that within the first 150 days, they will enact the majority of Project 2025, of course, right? I didn't think it'd be, day 9. I didn't think they'd be promising a concentration camp at Guantanamo Bay to house 30,000 migrants on day 9. I just didn't think it'd be that fast. But here we are. See my previous videos over the Lake and Riley Act, over ICE, of course, targeting not just violent criminals, for some reference for exactly who is going to be impacted by this. So yeah, we are speed running an upcoming genocide. The writing's on the wall. It's been on the wall for a while, and they're publicly engaging in some of the most crucial steps required to get us there. Auschwitz didn't start with thousands upon thousands of dead Jews, all right? It started with a smaller number. It started with it being considered a work camp. So if you don't think the promise of detaining 30,000 alleged illegal immigrants at a concentration camp that is synonymous with torture and the skirting of due process is a pathway to that same destination, then I really do not know what to tell you other than you do not know the first thing about history.